So I've noticed there's this massive mistake that the majority of people do when they're trying to build wealth. And this mistake not only hinders most people from not building true wealth, but it actually does the opposite and causes them to slide deeper into poverty. And a lot of it comes from the fact that most of the popular concepts on what wealth is are vastly misleading. If I were to ask you right now to imagine someone rich, you might imagine someone driving a Lamborghini. You might imagine somebody living in this mansion and they're coming out to get their newspaper in the robe and they're waving to the neighbors. Or you might imagine some guy in like a captain's hat and he's got like a little vest on and maybe he's like on a ship. He's got his like leg up on the bar for some reason and he's like, it's his yacht and he's like sailing and he's just like laughing and he's got a mustache and he's just living the high life on his little yacht there. In most people's minds, the yachts, the Lambos, the mansions, those things are symbols of wealth. When you think of wealth, you think of those things innately because that's what wealthy people have. That's what wealthy people do. That's the wealthy lifestyle. But in reality, what if I told you were actually looking at it all wrong? That in fact, not only are those things not symbols of wealth, but they're actually the exact opposite. Currently, I make over $50,000 a month right now, and despite that, me and my wife only own one car. We have a Honda minivan that we both share, and we use that when we have to go places. I currently live in a house that when I bought it was $290,000, and I only personally put down $20,000 on the house, even though I could literally buy my house in cash multiple times over at this point. I don't own any boats or a jet ski or anything traditionally associated with wealth. And I have lots of friends that make far less than me, but live much more lavish lifestyles. And I don't think there's anything wrong with owning a boat or owning a jet ski or owning a nice house or having multiple cars or anything like that. I just realized a lesser known secret about building wealth that I think most people don't understand. And it's really stupid simple. And that's that when you spend your wealth, you no longer have that wealth. Therefore, you are now less wealthy. Wealth at its core is unrealized potential. It's unrealized opportunity. It's the ability to have options in any given situation. And at its core for me, it's the ability to dictate how I want to live my life and how I want to spend my time. But when you spent your wealth, you no longer have that unrealized potential. You no longer have those options or those opportunities. You spent that. For example, currently I've built up so much wealth that I get to determine how I spend 100% of my time. I get to determine what days I want to work, what days I don't want to work, where I want to go, where I don't want to go. I don't have to worry about bills. I don't have to worry about how much the check is when I go eat out. I don't have to worry about how much the groceries cost. I have all kinds of freedom and I don't have to worry about much. On the other hand, there are these people that drive these sports cars and they have these massive houses and they live these lavish lifestyles. But they also have zero freedom because they have to constantly work to upkeep their lifestyle. If they stop working, they can't pay the bills and they lose everything. And I've met a guy like this. He had a massive house out in Napa. He was living everyone's dream life. But what people didn't see behind the scenes is he worked 2 jobs. He had one job where he made over $300,000 a year working for this creative agency. He had another job where he worked as an assistant to his wife as a photographer. And even then, he was barely affording his bills because was living such a lavish lifestyle. This guy was miserable. He had no freedom and he was racked with stress. So by nature, if you spend your wealth, you no longer have it and you no longer have the freedom that's associated with it. That guy made over $300,000 from just one of his jobs, but he couldn't enjoy it because he didn't understand the difference between looking rich and being wealthy. Now, of course, if you have a ton of money, there's nothing wrong with buying new things. Like I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with getting a crazy, cool sports car, getting this really awesome house, or buying that jet ski. But if freedom of how you spend your time and of how you spend your life is your goal, then when you go buy this really big, expensive thing, you're gonna have to weigh it against how much freedom you're actually giving up. There's also people out there that will tell you like, yeah, go have $10 million in the bank and then make sure you're cutting coupons and, spending all this time tracking your expenses and being really careful with how you're spending things. That seems pretty ridiculous to me. Part of the point of wanting to be wealthy is so that you can choose how you spend your time. And I bet most people don't want to spend their time cutting coupons. I am definitely really excited one day to get a bigger house and have some land where my kids could run around and play. I would love to travel and maybe go live in Europe for like a couple months. I want to do all these crazy cool things. I want to spend the money that I'm making. I just don't want to spend the money that I'm making at the expense of the freedom that I've acquired. And I think the reason most people get stuck in this trap is they're always constantly trying to keep up with the Joneses. They're always trying to constantly look, as cool as their neighbor, or as cool as their, family member or, blank. But to me, it doesn't matter if people think I look rich or if I seem rich. I just want to have the ability to spend my time how I want it. I just want to go have the ability to hang out with my kids and take the day off and do fun stuff. To me, that's way more valuable than looking like I'm wealthy to other people. Also, there's just a reality that your friends actually don't care how rich you look. If you have a big house or you have a nice car, that doesn't make your friends actually like you anymore. In fact, in a lot of situations, that just makes them jealous of you and like you less. So when you go out and spend your entire life savings to go buy this boat to impress your friends, when they see it, they aren't thinking, that you're so cool because you have a boat like that. They're thinking they wish that they had a boat like that. So it doesn't even accomplish the original intent that you had for it in the first place. If you want to actually build wealth, you need to shift your thinking from accruing things that make you look wealthy to instead building true wealth, which is the ability to make your own choices, choose how you spend your time, and have options when things inevitably go wrong or the way you didn't expect them to. And to be clear, obviously I don't think people should just take their money and stick it all in their bank account and save up that way. You want your money working for you. You want it producing some sort of yield. You want your money producing little baby monies for you so that you're never having to work another day in your life. Your money should be constantly multiplying itself and working for you, by you investing it in various places. And to be clear, there are lots of ways to be wealthy. Not all of them involve making a ridiculous amount of money. For example, the guy I talked about had the big house out in Napa. His way he could be wealthy would be selling all this junk that he doesn't need, downgrading his lifestyle quite a bit, and that would allow him to be wealthy. So there's multiple ways to build up wealth, to build up that freedom. It doesn't just have to be you making millions of dollars. If this video is helpful, make sure to hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments or want to add anything to this video, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and you got to hit the little bell next to it if you want to actually be notified each time I release a video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.